Meet Ceres, a regular Joe now armed with activated system powers. This newfound talent sets a target on him, causing anyone under its influence to buckle under the weight of their feelings towards him. Currently, he's locked eyes with an intimidating female demon, her presence enough to rattle his fellow warriors. Facing off against humanity's heroes, she seems less than impressed by their feeble resistance. This fierce female is none other than Princess Yug, Demon King's royalty, playing with humans under orders. Despite his lowly rank, our boy shows some spine and refuses to back down against the demonic threat. But let's not forget Ceres is a D-class hero. Bella advises him to flee, fearing Princess Yug is above their pay grade. His words, "Mind you, not mine," believing he can rise to the challenge. Bella urges them to prioritize escape while they can. Surprisingly, this man stands his ground against a foe that could easily end their lives. Even Bella looks taken aback. Princess Yug's nonchalant attitude prompts one of her orcs to remind her that a mere mortal is still standing before her. In an instant, the playful princess transforms into a ruthless killer, sprinting off with her crew eager for the hunt. Meanwhile, our heroes standing tall like a statue, a Chad in a dire situation as Princess Yug contemplates turning him into a wine glass decoration. The system springs to life, targeting none other than the regal adversary. Just when death seemed inevitable, an unexpected turn, a tender kiss instead of a decapitation, the princess caressing his head gently. Surprisingly, this peculiar system awards him points for successfully executing the smooch. It appears Sung Jin Woo's system has found an intriguing adversary indeed. Bella, on the other hand, is having a meltdown over this clown. Even the random orc warrior is scratching his head, wondering what's the deal here. With newfound strength, Sirius swings his sword and lays low 3 monstrous foes in a single strike. This action leaves Princess Yug reeling back, startled. Instead of ending the confrontation with bloodshed, she found herself locked in a kiss, an unexpected twist for both parties. As for the princess, she's left scratching her head, while Bro keeps a stoic face that I bet hid a secret grin. Ceres, ever noble, stands tall and declares he'd sacrifice his life to protect the city. A sacrifice that might just be the grandest in any manhwa tale so far. Yug's minions are left baffled, whispering amongst themselves about rumors of their queen harboring a secret paramour. Yet, it's a human of all beings that turned out to be her secret ally. One of Yug's warriors scolds his comrades for dishonoring the princess by sullying her reputation with a human. Despite this revelation, Princess Yug is desperate to conceal this incident from the Demon King, her heart simmering after their brief encounter. In response, Ceres orders his troops to eliminate the human on the spot. However, our protagonist opts against employing his locking ability and instead faces them head-on, deftly deflecting a massive orc's attack. Unfortunately, despite the enhancement in his combat abilities, his equipment fails to keep pace, crumbling under one blow. The remaining warriors gear up for the final assault. One of them swings wide and low, narrowly avoiding transforming our hero into a Kit Kat bar as Ceres deftly dodges to evade. Utilizing his power boost, Ceres manages to slice through his opponent's weapon, demonstrating both offensive prowess and adaptability. But just when it seems he's gaining the upper hand, another orc leaps from behind as if owing him overdue rent, forcing our hero to veer off course and counter with a critical strike. Bella, watching the spectacle unfold, is left speechless. This isn't the Ceres she once knew. A witty addition. Well, at least he's showing he can pay his rent on time now. Regrettably, Ceres finds himself only managing a shallow wound on the monster, leaving him wanting more. Unfortunately for him, Princess Yug makes her grand entrance, swooping down from above to crush this foe beneath her feet. The impact sends shockwaves throughout, flinging Bella backwards and stirring curiosity among the demons. With Ceres restrained, Yug prepares to deliver the final blow. Yet, even in this dire situation, our hero manages a last-ditch effort, as one of her underlings raises his sword high. In an unexpected twist, Princess Yug tosses him aside with her powerful tail, sparing the human's life. The remaining demons stand frozen as Princess Yug demands absolute stillness from her troops. It seems she intends to handle this human solo, eager for a personal touch. As always, it's her call, not mine. The orc warriors cheer in amusement and anticipation, witnessing their queen's determination. To say the scene is chilling would be an understatement. She appears ready to crunch his bones with just a single bite. To his shock, Yug playfully nibbles and tugs at his ear, halting her attack. Droplets of saliva cascade onto him, causing a mix of confusion and irritation. Our hero is vexed by this unusual treatment, considering himself a man of valor. Yet, the notion of selfless sacrifice for his kin softens his resentment. Yug, on the other hand, seems perplexed, pondering over her growing affection towards a mere human. This man is striking a chord with Yug, and though he's enduring immense pain, his stats are significantly boosted by this unusual encounter. The orcs watch in disbelief as the bizarre spectacle unfolds before them, some speculating that this could be a torturous ploy to prolong the human's suffering. After much torment, Cirrus decides his stat points have reached the threshold required to face Yug head-on. Fueled by determination, he swings his broken blade towards her back. But even amidst playfulness, Yug remains vigilant, swiftly grabbing his arm and neck, halting his attack. Slamming him against the nearest wall, her minions assume she's now fully committed to executing her plan to kill him. Pinned against the wall, Yug finds herself in a moment of self-reflection, questioning if she should have shown more restraint. Yug scolds Cirrus for his presumption, reminding him that insignificant humans often overestimate their abilities when facing powerful demons. She reveals her intent to toy with him, prolonging their encounter. To demonstrate human frailty, she strips his armor away. Meanwhile, her minions anxiously await her finish, yet she continues to entertain Cirrus's form. Cirrus recognizes his vulnerability, bracing for an imminent attack. He prepares himself for the drain on his life energy as she approaches, hand extended. Indeed, she pins him down, dominating the battlefield while he grapples with the reality of his lack of power against these beings. As for Bella, she's left puzzled, struggling to label this confrontation as a genuine fight. Cirrus, meanwhile, presents an image of noble sacrifice for some unseen purpose. Overconfident now, he rises and strikes, aiming to max out his stats in combat. In response, the system grants him multiple power-ups at once. A single hint, the monster's reactions say it all. The scene takes a comedic turn as the Demon King himself, in a fit of surprise, drops his mighty sword. Bro lays claim to the scene, leaving the Demon King speechless. Even Princess Yug's eyes widen at the sight of the Demon Lord, while Bartley stands dumbfounded. This is none other than Demon Lord Bartley, and his unexpected presence during the intimate moment results in the system doubling our hero's stats. One might say there are certain perks to being cuckolded, it seems. The Demon Lord lets loose a rage that could rival any scorned lover. Yug tries to intervene while our hero gears up for a confrontation with the Demon King. Bartley's anger can only be compared to someone needing a Snickers, and he charges swiftly to keep the human intruder away from his concubine. The first strike sends our hero crashing to the ground beside Bella. Cirrus quickly rises, determined to fight on. Analyzing the situation, he acknowledges that the Demon King's attack power is beyond what he can handle. Bartley directs his attention towards Princess Yug, inquiring about her frequent dalliances with others. The Demon Lord's anger is palpable as he remains unchanged. Even the Demon Lord and his entourage express surprise at her audacity. The warriors stand bewildered by the Demon Lord's generosity towards his beloved. It seems he's indeed giving her the streets, setting off a torrent of accusations from Princess Yug. She lays the blame squarely on him for arriving late, arguing that it was his tardiness that allowed matters to escalate so severely. Her frustration is evident as she berates him for his delay. It's ironic that despite her infidelity, Bartley is the one feeling remorse, apologizing for taking time to eliminate humans. Meanwhile, Cirrus takes advantage of their lover's spat, guiding Bella cautiously away from the scene. Cirrus escorts Bella on her journey. Her injury requires careful attention. Yug, however, activates her victim card, tearfully expressing distress over their relationship's tarnish at the hands of an intruder. Realizing his fault in the situation, Bartley grows determined and vows to end the human's life. Yet Yug halts him mid-declaration, tugging him back, professing her unwavering love for him alone. One of the warriors shares that Yug had strictly ordered them not to interfere, causing the Demon Lord to fume, using his divine speed to charge towards Cirrus and Bella. Bartley shouts at his oblivious servants, urging them to act instead of merely observing the unfolding drama. The sky splits open, revealing the Demon Lord, bent on annihilating the audacious human who dared to court his concubine. With a mighty blow, Bartley hurls our hero across the room, crashing painfully onto the ground as Yug looks on in horror. Even mighty Cirrus acknowledges his defeat, outmatched not just by Bartley's strength but also his battered state. There's no denying it, he stands no chance against this formidable foe. The Demon Lord readies to deliver the final blow, aiming to cleave our hero in two, a fitting punishment for his transgressions. In a surprising turn of events, Jug intervenes, slapping the Demon Lord and diverting his attack, leaving Bartley momentarily speechless. Seizing this opportunity, Cirrus breaks into a sprint, aiming to outrun the Flash himself and escape this deadly encounter. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord vents his rage, lamenting that his concubine dared to aid the human. The system recognizes this as a critical blow, rewarding the Demon Lord with a level up. Quite the unexpected bonus. However, Ceres remains focused on evading the demon lord's wrath, as the enraged being declares its unbridled desire for the human's body. Bartley attempts a halt, but Ceres swiftly breaks free, darting toward the human, embarking on an impromptu adventure. The demon concubine leaps at him, her heart pulsating with newfound liberty. Remarkably, she collides with Ceres, causing a deafening clash that likely shattered some bones. On this point, let's just say her ribcage is now on vacation. With the spectacle unfolding before the demon lord, Ceres inadvertently garners stat boosts, an unexpected bonus in such a precarious predicament. Bartley confesses his mistakes and begs to safeguard the human, but she retaliates with venomous words, shooing him away from her moment of bliss. Determined to savor her victory, she warns him sternly not to disrupt her tryst. And so, it appears this may be the most significant blow Ceres has ever dealt the demon lord. This leaves the demon quivering in despair, collapsing on his knees. Bella rushes to rescue her comrade from the clutches of the lecherous demon, disregarding Bartley's warnings about the danger lurking within. Meanwhile, Yug revels in Ceres's company, ensnared by her own tale and pinned against a wall. A strange transformation seems to have taken over Ceres. Puzzled, she ponders her erratic behavior but finds herself overwhelmed by an intense sense of euphoria, indulging in the human instead. Rising from his kneeling position, Bartley's sorrow morphs into anger and defiance. With renewed vigor, he dashes forward at breakneck speed, aiming to slay her once and for all. However, in the nick of time, the demon lord halts his attack, declaring his lingering love and inability to carry out the fatal strike. The demon's fragile state cracks wide open, leaving even the system questioning his sanity. Panic ensues among their minions as they scramble for safety amidst the imminent self-destruction process. Bartley's emotional collapse reaches a crescendo, triggering Ceres to unlock her new skill and reach level 10. Swift as lightning, Ceres executes a precise strike across the demon lord's neck, sealing the victory with his unique skill called the Swift Body Slash. Bartley's body collapses to the ground, interrupting the self-destruction sequence and averting total devastation. Remarkably, even with a shattered blade, Ceres was able to deliver a deadly blow thanks to his skill. Meanwhile, Princess Yug expresses dismay at the turn of events, remaining clueless about the reasons behind this grim finale. Intriguingly, the slain demon lord, despite his severed neck, lunges towards Yug in a final, desperate lunge. Landing on Yug's body, this action triggers her pained cries. This unfortunate circumstance also releases Bella from her bondage. The demon lord calls upon his concubine, vowing to keep their promise of a shared demise. It appears that the demon was still engaged in self-destruction, while Yug pleaded for salvation, fearing her own mortality. In a nightly rescue, Ceres swoops in to slice off the demon lord's arm and spirit Yug away from harm. The decapitated demon lord manages a final utterance but succumbs swiftly as his self-destruct sequence reaches its climax, annihilating the vicinity completely. Miraculously, Ceres' timely intervention allows Yug and Bella to evade death, retreating to a lower level of the dungeon. Upon reaching safety, Ceres catches his breath, pondering if they had indeed landed in the abyss. What's odd is that the colossal Yug has transformed into a diminutive salamander. Her magical prowess had plummeted to nil, the girl now barely clinging onto 10 HP. Perplexed, Ceres found the salamander Yug slipping into his pockets as Bella rose with a curious posture, inquiring about his well-being. The system unequivocally confirmed the demon lord's defeat. With a blend of excitement and apprehension, Ceres contemplated scrutinizing the new Naya dungeon map, his heart skipping a beat, as Bella offered an enticing view. Dismounting her, he examined the map window, gleaning valuable insights. Marked on this map were locations to gather resources and even pinpoint bosses. With this tool, navigating dungeons would no longer be a daunting task for Ceres. Bella's surprise was palpable as she remained oblivious to the system window's contents. Moments later, Ceres coughed up a gush of violet liquid, his body struck by some demonic magic, pain writ large on his face. Agony convulsed through him as his hand trembled violently. Ceres grimaces, battling the intense agony that leaves him writhing like a vulnerable tot in distress. As if on cue, wounds abruptly erupt across his physique, prompting Bella to enfold him, instinctively aiding him through this torment. She discerns the heat waves emanating from his body, culminating in an excruciating burn that consumes his pinky finger. The ordeal subsides for Ceres, leaving him desensitized, momentarily stilled to gather his strength. Regaining composure, he attributes the predicament to poisoning. Flashback 6 months to a monster raid in a city. A skirmish unfolds between monsters and a hero instigated by a peculiar artifact. Intriguingly, the battle seems connected to this enigmatic container. Regrettably for Ceres, The monster slashes the artifact, triggering chaotic shockwaves. He finds himself hurled into ruins, thanks to those jarring vibrations. The punctured artifact spews a peculiar liquid followed by an apocalyptic scene. The sky transforms into a fiery crimson, blood rain descending upon the earth below. The nauseating stench alone sent Ceres reeling towards the edge, teetering on the brink of vomit. The hero, engulfed by the crimson deluge, melted away like wax under the scorching sun. The monsters suffered a similar fate. Each creature experienced an excruciating, relentless agony. Miraculously spared from the torrential rain, Ceres awoke later, unscathed but afflicted with a fatal poisoning diagnosis, 1 year to live. Out of nowhere, a system window materialized, offering hope in the form of the demon god's blood as a cure. The system requested his consent for permanent bindings. And so, Ceres agreed, learning that the elusive demon god resided within the Nay dungeon. Now he sought a room to change and rest in preparation for the hunt of an antidote deep within this labyrinthine prison. For now he yearned merely for a moment's respite before diving back into the fray. Camera shifts showcasing strangers nearing a dungeon room when, wham, a laser beam erupts, narrowly missing them all. Unfortunately, the tank of their group didn't dodge as lucky. He's now a human kebab. The vice captain calls for his troops to stand fast, bracing for more surprises lurking in the shadows. They all freeze like statues, awaiting the answer to a tricky trivia question in English or Spanish. Their stalwart defender and party tank is obliterated by a single trap. Treading carefully now, they can't even risk sending anyone ahead as bait for other traps. But retreat isn't on the agenda, says Cyrus, the captain of this crusade. Tradition calls for using the weakest among them as bait instead. Poor soldier is thrust forward, ordered to risk his life in pursuit of the right path. His fate sealed. There's nothing he can do but follow orders, even as Cyrus threatens to cut him down if he disobeys. But just when all hope seems lost, enter Claude, suggesting a clever workaround, an arrow that offers exploration and boosts survival odds. Cyrus, seething over Claude's antics, threatens the vice captain, warning he'll face a grim end if this continues. The rogue orders the D-rank party member to rise and scout the path ahead. Trembling, the hapless recruit begins to move. Miraculously, no traps have sprung yet, but the next step is precarious, as he's unsure of the route. Without a moment's pause, the team leader urges him onward, denying him time to ponder. Gathering courage, he lifts his foot for another step, a sensation reminiscent of playing a high-stakes game of chance. Each move is a matter of life and death. The unfortunate soul knows his odds aren't looking good. Paralyzed by fear, he halts in his tracks, turning back with pleas to be allowed to retreat. Tragically, due to his haste, he triggers a hidden trap beneath him. A deadly ray pierces through, snuffing out life instantly. The group members, on edge due to the ray's erratic path, brace themselves. With a lifeless body at his feet, Cyrus calls forth the next in line among them. Intriguingly, the door swings open autonomously, commanding their focus. Our protagonist, taken aback, steps into the room, unaware of these faces. Remember Bella and Ceres, the decoy team mentioned earlier? Well, surprise! They were actually supposed to be the decoys within this very group. The revelation that Ceres was still alive infuriates Cyrus, even more so when he learns they both managed to evade perilous levels. Life, it seems, never grants one a moment's peace. It's funny, isn't it? This main character's go-to solution to problems is I'll date your girlfriend and you'll rue the day. Now that's a classic. Let's delve into the events preceding their descent into the dungeon. Ceres was captured for apparently possessing knowledge about Cyrus' wife's lingerie collection. Trying to salvage the situation, Ceres offers a flimsy explanation. As for Cyrus, his response can only be imagined, teetering on the brink of homicide. With unwavering integrity, Cyrus proclaimed he would never stoop so low and was merely honing his observational skills and training. To their astonishment, Bro begins naming down all of their underwear colors. The funniest part is how quickly the underlings of the captain went from, "No sir, please don't kill him," to "Kill him now sir, he's a national level threat." All because he revealed some interesting information. But Cyrus had the suggestion of placing him in the decoy group instead, believing it to be a fitting punishment. And well, that's how our boy ended up here of all places. And his luck is so rotten he encountered the same dude again. Cyrus demands that he come over immediately to his side. But of course, even our boy understands that it's a trick to make him trigger the mechanisms. The vice captain swoops in with a suggestion, believing it would be wise to follow the trail of the decoy group instead of taking reckless risks. But this thick-headed captain probably has a boulder for a brain with the way he rejects another sensible recommendation. He even guilt-trips Claude, pointing out that his actions are only for the sake of the team. With a dismissive wave, Cyrus refocuses on his pesky adversary, commanding him to carry out his task. Wise as ever, our hero opts to unfold the map application, initiating his cautious advancement. Frantic Bella attempts to halt him, concerned about his potential misplacement. Unfazed and self-assured by the map's guidance, Sirius strides forward with unwavering confidence, astonishing the assault squad with his audacity. Relinquishing doubt to precision, Sirius navigates according to system's instructions, moving methodically along. Each step he takes is calculated and bold, leaving the team questioning if this man was blessed by divine luck or some otherworldly force. Our hero continues his steady stride, occasionally looking back and pushing forward. Yet, his abysmal F-rank nullifies that theory for them, adding an unexpected twist to the story. A moment of imbalance nearly triggers a mechanism beneath Sirius, making him wobble momentarily, while the team captain stands baffled, questioning the mysteries surrounding their survival. With only a few more steps remaining, Sirius finally reaches his destination, standing tall before the bewildered captain and the deceased decoy. The group is duly impressed by Sirius' flawless crossing, unscathed by any hidden dangers. With a nonchalant shrug, Sirius attributes his success to training and insists they're merely fortunate. As the team marvels at his luck, Cyrus can't help but question if it's more than just that, a lucky break or a well-timed intervention from the gods themselves. A kale mushroom pops up unexpectedly before our hero, known for its potential sickness in humans but edible for monsters. The tiny salamander inside Sirius' armor catches a whiff and prompts him to carefully gather a few of the mushrooms, captivated by their aroma. Cyrus swiftly spots his action and inquires about what he's up to. Cyrus quickly swipes the mushroom from Sirius' hand and pops it into his mouth, revealing they've been operating on empty stomachs for quite some time. With a mouthful of mushroom, Cyrus reminds him that he can't keep making decisions without consulting the team first. Sirius assures him that there are no problematic traps beyond the door, paving the way for an easy progression. The leader, however, wants Sirius to handle the task of opening the door as well, fearing a catastrophe if they blunder in without proper precautions. Reluctantly, Cyrus takes on the task of opening the dungeon door, giving his comrades a heads-up to stay battle-ready. As he swings open the door, an unwelcome rumble echoes through his belly. Oh dear, that mushroom feast seems to have taken a turn for the worse. Sirius swings the door wide, revealing no immediate perils thus far. The team is on high alert, while our unfortunate friend appears to be grappling with a potent mix of fear and indigestion. Cyrus takes in the scene, trying to make sense of this mushroom madness unfolding. Meanwhile, our unlucky hero is gripping his stomach tightly, wondering if the previous meal had a hidden twist. Suddenly, it dawns on him, the mushrooms were the culprit. Our brave adventurer warns of many traps ahead, charging forward like a man possessed, dooming himself to more agony as his party follows suit. The rest of the team breaks into a dash, leaving us curious about what's driving this sudden sprint. Cyrus, in a moment of unintended comedy, unleashes another lethal gas cloud. His teammates, thinking they're breathing their last, blame the dungeon floor for the stench. Mortified, Bro commands them to flee or face imminent doom. Our boy, a seasoned manipulator with a master's degree from manipulation U, calmly counters Cyrus. Time passes and the team leader confronts Cyrus about the mushrooms, suspecting an elaborate trap from the Deerang. Cyrus stammers in defense, struggling to explain the situation. A teammate creates a cozy spot for the team leader to sit, but he's too restless for such luxuries. Motivated beyond measure, Bro orders them to keep moving. He even threatens Cyrus with his blade, vowing to execute him if he slows down again. Unbeknownst to them, a sleeping dragon lies in wait, oblivious to the human invasion of her domain. Their journey through the dungeon continues, their survival thanks to our boy's guidance. Sirius leads them forward, but they're not alone. Several monsters lurk nearby, watching the humans closely. The team leader, however, has been keeping a sharp eye out this whole time. Despite his weakness, our boy couldn't have navigated here on his own before. It's almost as if Sirius knows this place like the back of her hand. A thought that seems too absurd to admit. Moving on, Sirius indicates the boss's chamber ahead, implying her usefulness as a guide is now questionable, being viewed as an obstacle by the team leader. Sneaky indeed, the team leader detects a spike above Cyrus and uses his sword skill, unleashing a blast of mana, seemingly aiming to harm him. A rather cheeky move, our villain thinks he's playing a brilliant game here. But the tables quickly turn as a scorpion's tail deflects the spike, instead attacking the team leader directly. The armored monster falls, coincidentally triggering the cave-in, separating Sirius from the group. Miraculously escaping with a swift reaction, the scoundrel leader manages to survive the ordeal. Unfortunately, our hapless hero didn't share the same fortune. Believing his life is over and he's facing an inevitable demise. But just when things seem bleakest, a voice echoes through the chaos, identifying the presence of a human. The voice belongs to a woman named Sadiel, expressing her disgust at finding a human in her territory. The B+ level puppet scorpion, Sadiel's pet, loomed before Cyrus and his squad. Tyre commanded the tankers to barricade, preventing the beast from breaching their defenses. He barked orders for everyone to brace for combat, while Bella struggled under the weight of her sword. The tankers formed a barrier, shields raised high. Tyre then signaled the archers to fire from behind, leveraging the distraction provided by the tankers. Archers followed suit, unleashing volley after volley. Arrows pierced the monster, yet Tyr demanded more ammunition. The beast roared, expelling a force that flung back all arrows in its path. Surprised, Tyre realized their attacks were futile against the sheer might of the creature. Everyone teetered under the force, and even he felt the impact. Cyrus tried to rally his team, insisting they could vanquish this singular adversary. Suddenly, Cyrus sprang up, questioning why they stood frozen like statues, fearing the monster's aura. Meanwhile, Ceres detected another presence nearby, and pondered if it was another monster. Out of the blue, a scorpion tail lashed out at Ceres. But Ceres miraculously dodged it, curious about its origin. With a single punch from Ceres, the scorpion puppet disintegrated, pieces scattering hither and thither. Just then, the scorpion lunged at Ceres, yet again he deftly dodged its advance. Steadfast, Ceres challenged the monster to endure his powerful punch, boasting 3,190 units of force. Impressed, Sadiel witnessed Ceres shatter one of her scorpion minions with a single blow. In that instant, Ceres contemplated that the antidote for his poison lay within the room up ahead, where the boss resided. He couldn't afford to squander energy on trivial engagements. So, he devised a plan to consult the map and make a swift exit, preserving his strength. Sadiel approached, revealing her intent to discard all items tainted by human touch. She also mentioned that initially she employed the monster to contort faces, but now she found herself in the role. Upon laying eyes on Sadiel, he was momentarily stunned, encountering yet another female foe. Ceres retorted that his head wasn't a melon easily plucked by her hands. Undeterred, Sadiel voiced her distaste for his revolting physique, vowing to keep her hands off him. She clarified that despite handling external humans effortlessly with mere hands, in truth, she controlled the scorpion minions using strings and a handheld device, planning first to dispatch Ceres before taking on the rest of humanity. Ceres roared, proclaiming his hero status and duty to protect humanity, vowing to stand firm against her. Determined, he prepared to expend every last ounce of strength to barricade her advance. Challenged by Sadiel, she lashed out with a strike. Her single leg ensnared him, sending Ceres crashing to the ground. In that instant, Ceres' system activated, targeting Sadiel. Dismissive, Sadiel sneered at a hero who underestimated her power. Meanwhile, Tyre exclaimed for all to see as the scorpion puppet's head turned a vibrant red, suggesting their attacks were finally taking a toll. Ceres marveled at Sadiel's speed, but she merely admired Ceres' timely arrival, given human limitations, before moving on. Unamused, Lord Ney grumbled about humans disrupting his peace. As she planted her second leg upon him, Ceres knew the monster's power was immense, but he had to act fast. He must not let the beast escape. He recognized that if the monster breached the walls, it would bring destruction down upon them all. Swiftly ducking back, Ceres clamped down hard, targeting Ceres' feet. The unexpected move left Ceres squirming, vocally expressing her distaste at such an unsavory encounter. Simultaneously, Bella noticed an unusual stillness from the monster, her gaze lingering for a while. She reasoned that perhaps Ceres was not knocked out by the stone. Decisive action was needed. She signaled Tyre to provide cover as she delved into the debris in search of Ceres. His words of caution echoed faintly as she dashed ahead before he could finish his plea. Her thoughts were with Ceres, praying for her safety, but the scorpion puppet emerged, poised to strike. Tyre stepped in, shielding Bella from harm with a valiant block using his sword, though it strained him greatly. Meanwhile, Bella pondered over Ceres' fate, reasoning that as a hero, he should be resilient against mere rubble. Back with Ceres, the unwanted attention of his tongue caused her to slip free, leaving him feeling both relieved and repulsed. Yet, his system reminded him that the instant kill skill was off-limits without a weapon in hand. Curses! Ceres found himself in a pickle as he lacked a weapon for an all-hands brawl. If only he had anticipated this, he'd have packed a punch. He swung a wild haymaker at Sadiel, but she danced away gracefully and retaliated with a roundhouse kick to his visage. Her foot connected with more force than expected, making Ceres' face feel like soft putty. Sailing through the air, he collided with a stone, causing a small dust cloud in his wake. Ceres remained silent, while Sadiel grew tense, questioning the commotion unfolding before her eyes. Recognizing the potential danger of bystanders discovering Lord N's sanctum, she decided to swiftly eliminate Ceres. Seizing the tail discarded by Ceres, Sadiel aimed for a strike. However, Ceres was nimble enough to evade the attack with grace. Focusing magic energy in his hand, he severed the tail into 2 pieces, momentarily distracted as Sadiel returned with another flying kick, trapping Ceres's face within her grip. Her countenance and words were a sharp contrast, suggesting a desire to terminate, yet her gaze seemed to betray a longing for something else. This time, she warned, "I won't let you escape and will squeeze the life out of you with my feet." With growing fury, Ceres lunged for Sadiel's legs, aiming to assert his grasp. But at the touch, Sadiel recoiled oddly and leapt free. Moments later, she retaliated, stamping down hard on his face with a fierce warning to keep off her legs. Not just that, she used those severed tail fragments to restrain him, leaving Ceres dumbfounded and defenseless. Once more, Sadiel threatened to flatten his face beneath her boots. Amidst the chaos, Ceres's powers escalated while Sadiel reveled in the sensation of her boots against him. With agitation approaching 66%, she lectured Ceres about humanity's destiny to be trodden underfoot by beings like herself. Trembling with excitement, Sadiel caused even the puppet monster outside, locked in combat with Cyrus and others, to quiver. Taking notice, Tyr cheered that their adversary was losing its footing, urging them to hold tight. Victory was almost within reach. On the contrary, Sadiel reveled in her dominance, while Bella sprinted towards a wall of stones, evading the scorpion tail's deadly swipe. Tyr spotted Bella's predicament, yet his warning came too late as she was already struck by the tail, bouncing off rocks harshly. Meanwhile, Sadiel found himself in a pickle, making inappropriate advances towards Ceres. She retorted loudly, denying his touches and asserting boundaries. Nearby, Cyrus braced for the tail's approach. With swift reflexes, he narrowly evaded it using his sword, yet realized even from afar the tail could perforate the stone wall. An elite monster, indeed, this foe had surpassed. The agitation value skyrocketed to 95% for Sadiel, making her feel deliciously soft and squishy. On the other hand, Cyrus sensed another scorpion puppet attack, yet it came from behind, leaving him powerless to block it in time. His eyes widened as he saw the Scorpio princess approaching, but she arrived too swiftly for him to react effectively. To Cyrus's relief, however, Sadiel became overly agitated and displayed odd behavior, almost as if ensnared in a trance. This unpredictability caused the scorpion monster to twitch and pause. Cyrus marveled at his successful block, but found the monster's bizarre howling peculiar instead. Seizing the restless monster's opportunity, Cyrus prepared his strike. With a single, powerful roar, he unleashed his tiger-severing attack, sending the scorpion puppet flying. Cheers erupted as the puppet hit the ground, recognizing Cyrus' mighty display of power. Strangely enough, Sadiel's agitation was sky-high at 98%, explaining her peculiar behavior. They marveled at Cyrus, believing his strength could deter any magical beast in its tracks. The monster, writhing in discomfort, began to vomit, leading some to believe the attack had been excruciatingly painful. Even for Cyrus, the scorpion puppet seemed surprisingly weak, a breeze for him to conquer. However, on the other side, Sadiel's actions continued, causing the monster to stir again, sending chills down everyone's spines. Cyrus commanded the others to stand back and focus on the scorpion puppet, eager for them to witness his captain's prowess. Tension filled Sadiel as she pondered the strange turn of events, questioning her own actions and motives with a human body. Meanwhile, Ceres was at a loss, concerned that her resilient body, particularly her legs, would drain Cyrus if things continued on their current course. With a stern tone, Ceres declared he'd never yield, but a swift move saw Ceres' leg engulfed in a silencing gesture. "Enough of your chatter," she demanded, her voice echoing. As before with Yug, Ceres sensed an unsettling sense of manipulation as his powers surged past the 2000 mark. The scorpion puppet clashed with Cyrus, but its energy waned due to Sadiel's distraction and loss of composure. Spotting the weakening monster, Cyrus unleashed his sacred whirlwind slash, bringing it crashing down. The crowd marveled at Cyrus' display of might, gasping as the beast howled uncontrollably. Yet, their cheers faltered when the roars continued. They admired Cyrus for his powerful strike that seemed to have left the monster unconscious. Hearing the ruckus, Sadiel leapt from Cyrus' body, revealing her concern. "Cyrus," she acknowledged, "the monster was simply a training dummy in your hands." Tyr commended Cyrus, affirming his strength and praising his single strike. In the aftermath, Cyrus' defense and agility soared to new heights, boasting an impressive 3,304 and 4,310-point increase respectively. Suddenly, Sadiel heard her Lord Nay's voice demanding quiet outside. Startled, she stepped back, pondering if the confrontation had ended. A brief moment of forgetfulness clouded her judgment. Her heart pounded as she pondered the outcome. Had she succeeded or failed in her mission? The weight of Lord Nay's command loomed heavy upon her shoulders. Empowered to a degree that radiated death, Cyrus demanded an answer from Sadiel, challenging her to continue their game. Meanwhile, Cyrus' attack power skyrocketed to 10,000 points, urging him to swiftly eliminate the human threat and rectify his mistake. Tension gripped Sadiel as his aura now echoed Naysama's menace. The chilling presence of Ceres mirrored that of the dreaded Naysama. She pondered if she was to engage in battle against such an adversary. Fearful of his lethal intent, Sadiel fled from him. Conserving energy was crucial for Sadiel, as she had already depleted much of her strength. Ceres puzzled over her escape and debated whether to pursue. Yet, he chose to move on, for the prize in the boss room was his ultimate goal. Meanwhile, Bella rushed towards the rocky walls, anxiety coursing through her veins, seeking Cyrus. Upon reaching the wall, she found Cyrus, seeming dazed by her arrival. But before she could reach him, a figure shattered the wall with a powerful leg strike. Concerned, she suggested the medical team examine him, but Cyrus assured his well-being. Bella, however, observed that he was caked in dust, hinting at potential internal wounds beneath. Elsewhere, Tyr seethed with anger, holding something against Bella deep within his heart. Ceres simply nodded while Cyrus chuckled and confirmed his health. Bella urged him to alert her if he felt any discomfort. Gathering everyone's attention, Cyrus announced that from now on they would follow in his wake, as he was determined to display his true might against the boss, a battle he intended to face alone. With his return to the guild, Cyrus anticipated a promotion, a substantial gain for him. This news left everyone awestruck, showering praise upon their fearless leader. Inwardly, Cyrus wondered if the dungeon's difficulty wasn't merely C rank, but perhaps edging towards D rank at best. The narrative then shifted to Lord Nay's chambers, where Sadiel informed him of an exceptionally powerful human outside. She couldn't pinpoint the method, but the human's initial frailty had soared to unfathomable heights in a heartbeat. Cautioning Nay, she urged him to tread carefully around this human. In a peculiar tone, Nay asked Sadiel for her orders. Tense, Sadiel replied with a stern command to guard the door and keep out any intruders. Upon hearing this, an irate Nay demanded if she knew what she was doing, then why was she traipsing about with that human? Sadiel tensed up, on the verge of a response when, suddenly, Nay attacked. A massive explosion erupted behind her. Yet the light beam sailed through her, vanquishing her instantly. Nei voiced her disdain for excuses, threatening to turn Sadiel into firewood. Lifting her with magic, Nei hurled Sadiel onto piles of monster and human corpses. In a weak murmur, Sadiel expressed her unwillingness to perish. Upon landing, a pool filled with green liquid formed beneath her. Nei declared that she had been waiting for so long that thousands of humans and monsters had already served as fuel, but the blood of the demon god was finally simmering. Suddenly, a figure burst into Nay's chamber by smashing the door. Hearing the commotion, Nay turned around to inquire who dared disturb her sanctum. "Ah, it's old man Cyrus," Nay called out as he stormed in, ready for a confrontation. Ceres spotted the demon god's blood, his system chiming that this crimson liquid could purge toxins post-consumption. Intrigued, Nay questioned if Cyrus was the human Sadiel spoke of, with Ceres echoing the same curiosity about the detoxifying properties of the green blood. Cyrus requested silence from the crowd, asserting his intention to conquer the C-rank dungeon's boss solo. The crowd erupted in cheers, showcasing human resilience and determination. Ceres marveled at the platform's occupant, revealing it to be none other than the blood of the demon god. With everyone rallying behind him, Cyrus sprinted towards Nay, the crowd echoing his charge. Reaching close, Cyrus leaped into the air and taunted Nay, daring her to feel his terror. Instead of reacting as expected, Nay defended with a casual thumb swipe, unleashing a fierce yellow light ray that burned through Cyrus' armor like tissue paper. Stunned, Cyrus pondered the strange incoherence of the attack as his top-tier rank armor crumbled with just one strike. Dazed and disoriented, Cyrus tumbled into the wall, causing a collective gasp from the crowd. The concerned onlookers rushed to his side to check on him. Nay smirked, commenting on Sadiel's uselessness when compared to the seemingly unstoppable Cyrus. Miraculously, beneath his charred armor, Cyrus wore the S-level soft dragon scale armor, a gift from his brother, a lifesaver indeed. Disoriented and deep in thought, Cyrus dismissed his team's concern. He pondered over the mysterious labyrinth beneath and the striking disparity in monster strength. With the monster weakened, he planned to strike, saving his own assault for last. A strategy of exhaustion seemed wise, avoiding head-on clashes for now. Regaining his feet, Cyrus ordered a charge, showcasing their combined expertise. Tyr, however, interjected with an alternative suggestion. A full-blown assault without formation might lead to unintended casualties. Cyrus, flaring up, demanded if Tyr was doubting his wisdom or defying his orders. Tyr, tense, denied any such insubordination. Cyrus barked at Tyr to be quiet and obey, commanding them all to arm up and advance. He vowed to be their rock, quelling any fear they harbored. Agitated, they followed suit towards Ne, the dungeon boss, who sneered at their approach, mere humans, unfit even as firewood for a sacrifice. Ne bellowed her intent to demonstrate human versus monster, launching a devastating display of despair-inducing disparity attack. Many were reduced to cinders in that onslaught. Ceres shielded Bella and Mark, keeping them safe from the blast's reach. Many were seared, some were wounded. Remarkably, Cyrus somehow escaped the inferno, yet his trusted blade was reduced to embers. Stunned, Cyrus beheld his sword turn to ashes. Ne then ascended, taunting Cyrus if he truly meant to instill fear. Recognizing defeat, Cyrus hastily planned an escape route. Tyr stared at the charred remains of allies, only to find Cyrus attempting to flee, shouting for retreat. Those left standing obeyed his call and exited the boss's chamber. Tyr bristled as he heard it was Cyrus giving the order. However, Cyrus was caught off guard when Ceres grasped him. Upon turning, he found none other than Ceres, who reminded him of his promise to stand by the team and urged him to continue the fight against Ne. Eager to stand his ground, Cyrus didn't want to lead others into peril. His attempts to free himself from Ceres' hold, however, proved futile as their connection was unyielding. Ne, seething with anger, accused Cyrus of invading her territory and causing chaos within it. Despite his efforts to escape, Cyrus found himself unable to break free from Ceres' grasp. The dungeon boss was readying another attack, which left Cyrus trembling in fear. Angered by the situation, Cyrus demanded Ceres release him, but to no avail. His rage boiling over. Caught between defiance and duty, Ceres stood his ground, determined to protect his team despite the odds. In a burst of frustration, he lunged at Cyrus, but found himself restrained by Cyrus' tight grip. The pain sending jolts through him, Cyrus roared in agony. He then picked up Ceres and prepared to hurl him towards Ne. Ordering Ceres to shield the team with his body, he ordered a retreat. As the attack came, Cyrus hurled Ceres into the path of the beam, declaring that as their leader, he should always uphold his promises. Bravely, Ceres leaped into the light, granting everyone precious moments to escape. Exhausted and injured, they fled the scene. A teammate froze in shock at the sight, followed by Cyrus glaring fiercely at Ne, demanding his turn next. Bella voiced her intention to remain, with Tyr echoing her sentiments, stating his resolve to confront the monster as well. Bella asserted that Tyr didn't have to stay, as she was there for Cyrus. Tyr acknowledged this, but reminded them of his rank and purpose, expressing disdain towards taking orders from Cyrus again. Meanwhile, Naya inquired why Cyrus hadn't fled after witnessing her power, hinting at a perceived arrogance from Cyrus. Ceres countered Naya's attack with the swift body slash, causing NEI to flinch and pull back. Surprised by Ceres' speed, NEI watched as he dashed towards the altar of the demon god's blood. Intrigued, NEI pondered if perhaps Ceres wasn't trying to kill her, but instead sought the demon god's blood. Ceres continued his sprint, nearing the altar. Nai cried out for Ceres to keep a distance from her altar, but Bella and Tyr seized the moment to attack her, thinking it was an opportune time. With a well-timed dodge, Ceres evaded their assault. To everyone's surprise, Nai quickly subdued both swords and aimed them at Ceres. Both Bella and Tyr strained to push Nai back, but her foot slipped slightly, altering the trajectory of her attack. Labeling Ceres as a speedy critter, Nai voices her displeasure. Bella scolds Nai for her aggression, cautioning against attacking Ceres. Overjoyed, Ceres leaps towards the altar, convinced he's almost there. But upon reaching it, he spots a mysterious magical pattern. Tension etched on his face, Ceres recoils as soon as he touches the array, sending him flying away from the altar in a blast. Proudly, Nai reveals that the array is her creation, insisting no living being can cross it unless she's gone. Realizing this, Ceres concedes defeat, acknowledging a direct approach to the demon god's blood isn't viable. Seemingly out of nowhere, they discover they must face and defeat the boss first. In one corner, Ceres catches sight of something in the wall gaps while Nai tosses Bella and Tyr aside, calling them arrogant fools who underestimated their prowess. Both Bella and Tyr land heavily on the ground, slightly wounded. Across the room, Cirrus is left dumbfounded at the sight of none other than the female monster who had escaped moments earlier. Cirrus secretly hid, puzzled over the monster woman's return. Meanwhile, Naya trembled, whispering for Cirrus to stay silent, lest they reveal his presence to Nay. Nay, with a calm facade, revealed his ritual demanded tranquility, promising to release his wrath once the enemies were vanquished. This revelation made Cirrus tense, fearing for Bella's safety. Meanwhile, Sadiel pondered the mysterious kale mushroom and its power recovery abilities. Before leaving, Ceres placed the kale mushroom in front of Sadiel. With a shout, Ceres dashed towards Bella. Emotions overflowing, Cirrus watched as Sadiel showed affection for the host. On the other side, Sadiel ate the mushroom with a gleam in her eyes. The host's actions triggered weapon unlocking requirements, expanding their arsenal of options. A flurry of anonymous cards bearing question tire signs materialized before him. The system informed that first, he must understand the weapon introduction rule in detail. Tyre shielded Bella, vowing to hold off the attack and help her escape swiftly. Battered once more, Bella's leg cracked again. Tyre was urged to flee without her. Determined, Ceres bellowed at the system to skip the rule explanation as he was now on a rescue mission with no time for trivialities. Swiftly skipping the rule explanation, the system now presents Ceres with a card selection. The system informs him of his new acquisition, the exploding garment divine sword, a blade adorned with a fiery red aura. Agitated, Cirrus lunges towards Nay, challenging her with a menacing roar. She smirks, acknowledging his blunder, revealing that Bella and Tyre were mere diversions and her true target was none other than him. With a mocking flourish, she unleashes her light beam attack, taunting him about his chances of escaping at such close quarters. Undeterred, he retorts defiantly, asserting that he never claimed he'd dodge. Channeling all his might, he strikes with full force, but the sword only manages a shallow scratch on her hand. She chuckles, remarking that despite exerting all his strength, he left no more than a mark on her skin, not even a single drop of blood drawn. She lectures him about the gap between monsters and humans, but her words are cut short as her dress mysteriously tears from above. Embarrassed, she queries hesitantly where her dress could have vanished. The monster's sudden state of undress triggers the move known as Divine Sword Descent, leaving Cirrus on edge. Even Bella and Tyre felt a tad awkward witnessing Cirrus disrobe their foe. Intriguingly, Cirrus' screen reveals his tactic, the exploding garment divine sword, designed to obliterate foes upon sword contact. It boils with rage at Ceres' unsavory tactic and vows retribution. Ceres' system indicates that his current magic power allows only 6 uses of Swift Body Slash, each with a 10-second cooldown. Confident that no won't escape, Ceres plans to close the gap and strike repeatedly, eventually knocking off her face mask to unleash his ultimate move. However, Na manages to dodge his attack yet again, leaving Ceres puzzled as he believes she was hit on the palm, causing her upper garment to rip open. Translation? One more strike and the robe underneath is history. The system prompts if Ceres wants to deactivate the skill, but Ceres firmly declines. A fresh target means an immediate activation of the skill. Disappointed by its ineffectiveness thus far, Ceres presses on. Determined but frustrated, Ceres readies himself for another try. With a furious charge, Ceres lunges at Na to strike with Swift Body Slash, but she leaps into the air and evades the attack once more. Tense, Ceres misses his mark again. Meanwhile, Na ponders Ceres' fixation on her legs when the upper clothes have already been shredded. Could he be aiming for a wardrobe malfunction? Does Ceres seek to disrobe her entirely? Just as the thought crosses her mind, Ceres returns for another assault, but this time Na retaliates with a fierce kick aimed at his face. Ceres took a hard blow to the face, flying through the air due to the impact of the attack. Miraculously, with his sword acting as a brake, he managed to halt midair and land on solid ground. As seconds dragged on like eons, Ceres loomed ever closer towards Nay. Yet, despite the agony of a near-shattered nasal bone, he bore it with grit. Recalling the excruciating pain of his body melting during the toxin outbreak, he realized that this discomfort was insignificant in comparison. Enraged further, Ceres charged towards Nay, roaring that even this little pain held no meaning for him. And as the countdown reached its final second, he knew it was now or never. While charging forward, Nei attempted a laser beam attack, but Ceres gracefully dodged her strike. With a curious glare, Ceres prepared for a clash with Swift Body Slash, wondering if Nei could evade such a close-range attack. Confident in his success, Ceres struck, only to find he'd connected with Nei's tail instead. Soaring high above, Nei defied the notion of flight. Unfazed by the prospect of retreat, she declared her intention to stand and fight, accusing Ceres of underestimating her capabilities. Had it not been for her self-imposed restraint, she could have reduced him to ashes eons ago. Ceres flinched at Nei's onslaught, dodging the laser beam with a swift maneuver. Frustrated by the ticking clock and his skills cooldown, Ceres found himself cornered and was forced to confront Nei head-on. His counterattack was imminent, but the screen hinted at a momentary pause in his offense. Unfazed by this brief interlude, Ceres unleashed a raw, powerful slash with his sword. Miraculously, he parried Nei's laser beam. A cataclysmic collision ensued. The screen quivered as Tyr watched in disbelief, questioning how Ceres had managed to counter the boss's attack so fearlessly. As a B-rank fighter, Ceres was overwhelmed by the encounter. His low combat level of F prior to the expedition seemed insurmountable compared to this display of power. Excited, Ceres marveled at his sword's true potential. It was astounding. He shared his newfound realization with Nei, boasting about his ability to counter and evade her attacks, rendering them ineffective against him. Nei conceded that Ceres had spoken the truth. She declares it simple to eliminate the limping woman, yet finds it challenging against him. Her gaze shifts to Bella, puzzling Ceres. In response, she readies a beam. Quick as a flash, Ceres counters with a body slash, targeting the finger's nail in her attack. The blow shatters the nail, but it comes too late, as her attack is already unleashed. Earlier jubilant, Ceres now tenses upon seeing Bella's peril. He dashes towards her. A heroic act met with laughter from Naya, who points out the usual predicament of heroes falling victim to villains. She warns him he'd been tricked and attacks with her second hand. Meanwhile, Ceres realizes his tardiness in reaching them, leaving him with few options. With swift change, he designates Bella as his new target and uses the swift body slash. This action allows him to shield them, but at a cost, breaking Bella and Mark's armor in the process. Even Tyr is taken aback by the destruction of his armor. Nei watches in amazement as Ceres evades her attack yet again. Realizing her distraction had led to neglecting the altar's firewood, she hurries to tend to it lest all efforts thus far be for naught and she face another long wait of 100 years. Across the fray, Bella appears smitten, puzzled by her peculiar sensation and intense warmth coursing through. Her system signals a staggering 91% agitation, confirming an inexplicable fascination towards Ceres. Drawing near to Ceres, she cups his face, seemingly ready for a lip lock. Quizzically inquiring if he's seen a beauty like herself before or if he's yearning for a kiss, her intimidating demeanor is evident. Tyr echoes her stunned silence. As Bella looms over Ceres, he recalls an old memory of Bella at 8. The scene snaps back to the present as Ceres evades, claiming reluctance for a kiss. Tyr probes Bella about her odd behavior, suspecting either poison or hallucination, with her body acting against her will. Bella blushes fiercely, growing tense and ashamed, her complexion deepening in color. He contends that she must be hallucinating if not affected, questioning her erratic actions. Tyr fumes over her flushed face and profuse sweating. Bella's discomfort escalates exponentially. Meanwhile, Nei remains focused on the altar, dreading another century-long wait should the demon god's blood chill. She casually mentions disposing of the monster and human corpses, expressing her reluctance to endure such a long wait again, opting instead to utterly consume the demon god's blood this time. Upon hearing this, Ceres tenses, inquiring if Nei truly intends to completely dry the demon god's blood. He then calculates that he must act swiftly to halt her plans, but the opponent's speed surpassed his expectations, making it challenging even to land a hit. With time running short, only one option remained, amplifying his strength beyond what the boss could evade. Eager to unleash the explosive garment divine sword's ultimate move and vanquish Nei, Ceres marched towards Bella. Meanwhile, Nei was pondering if piling all corpses into the altar would elevate its heat to maximum capacity. Approaching Bella, Ceres suggested a plan for defeating the boss, but first, he needed her assistance briefly. Perplexed, Bella inquired about his proposal. Ceres revealed that engaging in romantic activities like kissing and cuddling could enhance his power to overpower the boss. Both Bella and Tyr blushed at this revelation, with Tyr even questioning Ceres' audacity to discuss such matters so candidly. Ignoring their discomfort, Ceres pleaded with Bella for her cooperation, acknowledging it would be difficult for her. Suspecting Ceres was attempting to manipulate the situation, Tyr pulled him away from Bella, exclaiming his doubt in such an illogical scheme. As Bella hesitated, she ultimately agreed, her primary concern being the monster boss's defeat, not indulging in romantic activities. Ceres. Oh Ceres, such a charmer, indeed. Overwhelmed by this turn of events, Tyr implored Bella not to trust Ceres but was taken aback as she expressed faith in his words. Inwardly tense, Tyr urged Bella not to proceed with the plan, expressing his desire to abandon this game entirely. Yet Bella had agreed only to vanquish the monster boss and held no true intentions of engaging in romantic acts with Ceres. Upon realizing this, Tyr stood bewildered as Bella placed a comforting hand on Ceres' shoulder, explaining her embarrassment at the situation. Bella gripped Ceres' visage, stirring memories of her childhood attempt to kiss him, causing Ceres to recoil in distress. Just as before, Ceres distances himself. During this exchange, Tyr sustains a critical blow, nearly meeting his end. Ceres warns Bella of the danger in the present. Relieved to avoid physical contact and the haunting memory, Ceres feels an unexpected surge. His level increases, along with a 5,000-point boost to all stats. Baffled by this development, Bella ponders why Ceres pushed her away. Overjoyed at the prospect of using his ultimate move, Ceres calculates he must strike both head and legs simultaneously. Moved by Ceres' determination to face the boss alone, Bella expresses concern about his potential failure and her role in assisting him. As the tension within Bella hits 99%, Ceres feigns a smirk, claiming he doesn't need her help, then dashes towards Nay. Hearing a refusal, Bella feels a pang and inquires about his decision. It's because she has feelings for Ceres that she asks. After all, he's stronger than him. Tyr interjects, understanding her sentiment, yet left wondering why Ceres held no romantic interest whatsoever. Bonus, and so the chase for power continues, while love remains a tantalizing mystery. Not unlike trying to master that perfect pirouette in ballet class. Earlier, a near miss on the boss's leg, but now with a 5,000-point boost, swift body slash could surely seal the deal if the right moment struck. Perplexed, Naya watched as the altar remained disconnected, pondering why the chill persisted despite the frigid temperatures. If quick action wasn't taken, that chill would only deepen, so she contemplated drafting in a few human warm-blooded souls to bump up the thermostat a bit. As Nai swooped towards Ceres, she praised their impending fate as firewood for her sacrifice, a compliment unmatched in her book. Preparing to go full throttle, Nai began gathering power at the altar's heart, ready to launch a multi-pronged attack. Ceres stared wide-eyed as the energy ball swelled, realizing it was one mighty punch packing a wallop. Defending himself against Nai's fierce onslaught with his sword, he grimaced as notifications flashed that his magic points were draining rapidly. Gradually, his magic points dwindled, creeping towards zero. Eventually, he managed to deflect the attack but barely had any magic left in the tank. With just 11 magic points remaining, Ceres found himself skillless due to the low magic value. Tense and out of options, Ceres realized he was down to his last few magic points and didn't know what move to make next. Nei grinned, revealing she knew Ceres was drained, declaring the battle's end. Confused, Ceres pondered his next move, but unexpectedly, Bella stepped in, comforting him by gently cradling his face. This left Mark astonished and saddened, seeing Bella's affectionate gesture. Both Bella and Tyr held a past love for one another, a sentiment that never wavered from childhood to the present. Their shared sorrow boosted Ceres significantly, granting him a whopping 5-level increase in power, radiating an aura of newfound might. Astonishment washed over Ceres as he sensed an unparalleled surge within him. His stats had skyrocketed by an astounding 27,500 points. Nay gaped, questioning the feasibility of such a rise. With such an incredible boost, Ceres seemed to have no chance against her now. Now shining brilliantly, Ceres appeared formidable, but even superior power didn't faze Nay, who likened him to an ant in the face of monstrous adversity. Yet, as she spoke, Ceres charged at her with renewed vigor and force. Nay asserted that dodging attacks was second nature for her. Yet Ceres' swift strike caught her off guard. It wasn't until the tear in her mask became visible that she was taken aback by his ferocity. With that destructive blow, Ceres' system flashed with the emblem of the Holy Sword descent. Enraged, Nay roared at the audacity of such a desecration. Gathering her strength, she formed an orb-sized beam. In response, Ceres assaulted her as well, attempting to counteract. A cataclysm ensued within the room, with the beam's impact obliterating everything but the path Ceres stood on. Even Bella and Tyr felt the brunt of the blast. Once the mist cleared, Ceres found Nay lying unconscious on the ground, convinced of his victory. Ceres' system displayed a 20-second cooldown for the divine sword descent. He rushed towards the altar only to find it still active. Confused, he pondered why the altar remained functional. Suddenly, Nay's voice echoed through the silence, challenging him on his presumption of victory, stating that she would never allow humans to soil the demon god's blood. Joke. I guess we can say the game was not over yet. Ceres glances at his cooldown timer, noticing a scant 9 seconds remaining. He barks back at Nay, boasting a 9-second countdown until her demise. Yet his gaze shifts to Bella, whose health hangs precariously close to the abyss of death. Challenged, Ceres marches forward, eager to determine who will emerge victorious, humans or monsters. Nay rises, her voice echoing as she vows not to let him prevail while she still draws breath. Faced with a quandary, Ceres wavers between rescuing Bella and Tyr and continuing the fight for the demon god's blood. Prioritizing the pair in distress, he overlooks Nye. Ceres swoops towards the exit, leaving Nye momentarily elated as they depart, deeming humans overly reckless. Meanwhile, Ceres orders his map to reveal the quickest escape route, urgently needing to reach the hospital as swiftly as possible now. Before exiting the room, however, he's ambushed by monsters. Ceres readies himself for battle once more. Bella, still unconscious, recalls her painful past. Memories of laughter, mockery, and ridicule fill her mind, whispers of unwanted kisses echoed through the halls. Despite this longing, Piers suggests she play the role of a gorilla instead in the house game. Flashback continues as Ceres approached Bella and some children warned him away, fearing he'd contract an ugly disease. To everyone's astonishment, Ceres slaps one of the boys. Transition to present time, where Ceres swiftly dispatches the monster with a powerful body slash. In Bella's dream, the child who was slapped cries, and Ceres reminds her that the game isn't over yet. He declares he'll take care of her as dad, while she plays mom. He reaffirms his commitment to protect her. Post-monster battle, Ceres comforts Bella, ensuring her that she's safe now. Meanwhile, Naya notices the altar growing cold and realizes more firewood is needed to prevent it from cooling off. In a heart-wrenching decision, Naya decides self-sacrifice is necessary to maintain the fire's warmth. Simultaneously, Ceres clashed with obstacles obstructing his path, determined to press forward. On her final breath, she renounced servitude to the divine demon, while simultaneously Nate disintegrated upon the altar, self-sacrificed as fuel. Concurrently, Ceres grappled with a monstrous dragon, wielding his sword in retaliation. Defeating the dragon, his divine sword garment detonated, sword vanished, system announcement confirming the enemy's demise and its return to the system. The system hinted at another 12-hour wait for the weapon's reappearance. With this knowledge, Ceres found his concerns alleviated, their proximity to the exit evident. A shift occurred, revealing Ceres and companions near the dungeon exit. Cyrus, visibly shaken, wore a grave expression. The team radiated joy at survival from the subterranean labyrinth. Reflecting on his brush with death, Ceres mused about how perilous the dungeon had been, all thanks to that certain Ceres. Citing Cyrus returning with Bella and Tyr, a comrade notified him of Cyrus' survival. Enraged, Cyrus demanded an explanation from Ceres, accusing him of defying orders and attempting escape. From a teammate's scabbard, Cyrus drew a sword, challenging Ceres' audacity to tag along secretly and flee. In his capacity as captain, Cyrus stripped Ceres of expedition privileges, declaring that the guild's medical resources would no longer sustain him. Cyrus, fueled by anger, declares he'll settle things immediately and readies for a fight. Yet, astonishingly, Cyrus leaps over Cyrus with a kick, using him as a stepping stone, remarking he can't afford delay. The stunned crew watches in disbelief as an unconscious Cyrus lies on the ground, their captain now underfoot. One voice rings out clarifying it was Ceres who had attacked the captain and caused his fainting spell. With urgency, they rush off with the captain on a stretcher, shouting about an urgent hospital case. Ceres breathes a sigh of relief upon assuring Bella and Tyr's safe arrival at the hospital. Not one to rest, he hastens back to the dungeon, one step away from acquiring the demon god's blood for an antidote. The scene shifts to the dungeon, where a crimson glow emanates from the altar. It seems Na had been masquerading as Bio all along, and the crew was unaware she was actually female. As Sadiel watches, curiosity piqued, he wonders what kind of being boss Na has summoned with her self-sacrifice. The crimson glow takes on a dress-like form and a hand emerges from within. As the hand emerged, an air of suspense filled the room, sending a shiver down Sadiel's spine, a chill as if needles were pricking her bones. A figure eerily familiar stepped forth from the red substance as if it were her own realm. Azathoth, with a boyish physique and long flowing locks, triggered an overwhelming sensation in Sadiel, prompting her to hesitantly retreat, fearing the danger escalating. Sensing Sadiel's presence, Azathoth gently tapped the wall, causing it to crumble dramatically. The monsters above were taken aback, questioning the strange explosion below. The tremor unveiled Sadiel, leaving the monsters perplexed, wondering if Bosni was responsible for the collapse. One monster exclaimed for everyone to gaze upward, pointing out the unexpected sight of the sky peeking through the rubble above, suspecting that NEI might have caused this calamity. Yet they quickly discarded the notion, realizing that it demanded power beyond even Nae's grasp. The monsters grew tense, pondering if they should flee or remain, while Azathoth interjected, confirming Nay's demise and her newfound need for a servant. One monster boldly approached Azathoth, boasting of their lineage that withstood the test of time, expressing readiness to serve someone more formidable than any eye. Amidst the chaos, another monster pledged allegiance to Azathoth, reminding everyone of the power they possessed and their willingness to follow even the mightiest leader. Everyone else starts clamoring that they also want to serve, but Azathoth shouts that they are all too ugly and proceeds to destroy them. Azathoth declares that she doesn't want ugly minions. She then walks towards Sadiel, complimenting her appearance, and instructs Sadiel to look up and open her mouth. With tears in her eyes, Sadiel opens her mouth and Azathoth pours her blood into it, instructing her to drink. After drinking, Sadiel feels a sudden change in her body, sensing a different sensation as if her body is beginning to heal itself. Azathoth approaches Sadiel and explains that Sadiel's body should be feeling very comfortable, because her blood has the ability to repair all damage, fortify the immune system, and enhance strength. Azathoth adds that during the digestion process it could bring Sadiel immense pleasure. Azathoth then tells Sadiel that it's getting dark and advises her to go find a clean room waiting for her. Sadiel, unsure of what to say, agrees by nodding her head. Cyrus apologizes to Darren and explains that if he loses his position as captain, Darren, visibly furious, demands to know what Cyrus said about the mission failing. The scene then shifts to the guild's headquarters, where it shows Darren holding Cyrus's head. Cyrus attempts to warn Darren about potential repercussions if their secret resource selling surfaced. He suggests Darren devise a solution for the predicament at hand. In response, Darren shoos Cyrus away, voicing that he's already aware of the risk. Driven by anger, Darren pushes Cyrus back and orders him to keep mum. Darren inquires if Cyrus had insubordination within his team. Commanding Cyrus to bear the blame for the mission's failure, Darren assigns Cyrus as the culprit and sentences him to capital punishment for desertion. As it turns out, the traitor goes by the name of Cyrus. Upon reaching the dungeon, Cyrus is taken aback by its dilapidated state. Rushing towards the altar to check on his antidote, Cyrus is left in disbelief when he finds it missing. In the meantime, Sadiel remains patiently waiting for Azathoth's arrival, sitting motionless. Suddenly, Azathoth gently places her hands on Sadiel's shoulders, startling her. Shockwaves radiate through Sadiel as Azathoth wraps her in a surprising embrace from behind. A secret whispers into Sadiel's ear causes her to drift away from the hug, left bewildered by the sudden seduction. Recalling that she had believed Azathoth to be male, Sadiel now struggles to reconcile this notion with the soft sensations she currently feels. Flushed with embarrassment, Sadiel spins around and freezes upon witnessing a drastic transformation in Azathoth. She's blossomed into a beautiful young lady. Azathoth inquires if Sadiel prefers less physical affection. Azathoth discloses that during the night, Sadiel must safeguard her and neutralize any adversaries targeting her, a transformed individual. Perplexed, Sadiel queries how Azathoth can alter like this. Azathoth explains it's nothing extraordinary, as at night she loses all vigor and reverts to her authentic self. She cautions Sadiel against trying to harm her or flee, as imbibing her blood during daylight grants Azathoth resonance with Sadiel's essence, potentially causing Sadiel's physical form to disintegrate instantaneously, even at night. Obeying instructions, Sadiel listens attentively. In the meantime, Ceres scours every nook of the dungeon for the demon god's blood, but in vain. Frustrated, Ceres requests his system to display a map and thoroughly examine each corner of the dungeon. He ponders if the demon god's blood could be concealed somewhere within. Here, Azathoth shares with Sadiel that she wishes matters didn't have to unfold this way, but her heart is imprisoned within the Heroes Guild, restricting her from assuming her full form. When this occurs, every beast in the world, whether day or night, will once more pay homage to Azathoth's power. Consequently, at night, she assumes a weak human form. However, as soon as she waits until daybreak and reclaims the power of the demon god, they shall march towards the Heroes Guild headquarters to retrieve her heart. Hearing approaching footsteps, Sadiel readies herself to investigate. Azathoth reminds Sadiel once more if she grasps the situation, and Sadiel confirms understanding. Azathoth orders Sadiel to maintain a 5 kilometers radius during any combat encounters. Should Sadiel exceed this limit, Azathoth threatens to disintegrate her physical form. On the contrary, Ceres' system signals that the demon god's blood is buried in Nay's subterranean dungeon. Ceres gleams with glee upon discovering the demon god's blood lies within the dungeon depths. Mistaking the final unchecked room for their current abode, he dashes toward it. Stealthily, Sadiel conceals herself near the door, primed for a sneak attack. When she strikes with a kick, Ceres gracefully evades, leaving her surprised. As her adversary is revealed to be the same human she crossed paths with earlier in the day, Sadiel's body regains strength while Azathoth experiences an odd sensation, her body trembling involuntarily. Ceres demands that Sadiel retreat from the dungeon before the arrival of dawn, explaining that such a display of power only surfaces when she's near her heart. Inquisitively, she asks why he returned after Na had met their demise. With a quirk, he inquires about her opinion on the mushroom treat he offered earlier. Snapping, she orders him to scram. Yet her embarrassment blooms as Ceres' system indicates that her favorability rating stands at 71%. Admitting that it was the most vile mushroom she ever tasted, she turns beet red. Delighted by this reaction, Ceres remarks on her blush and praises her unexpected fondness for him. Before he could finish his musings, she lashes out with another kick, denying any affection towards the man while insisting that humans were revolting. In a swift motion, she kicks again, striking her own face and shattering it, reiterating her disdain for humankind. However, in an unexpected turn, his form vanished from under Sadiel's footing, leaving her perplexed. Puzzled, she pondered over his mysterious escape even as she watched him dart towards the room. Ceres then clarified that he had pressing matters to attend, implying a future playtime session. As he neared the door, an unusual sensation stirred within him, the blood of the demon god lurked behind it. Just before he could grasp the handle, Azathoth emerged, causing Ceres to involuntarily touch her chest. Startled by the sight of a human girl in the dungeon, he jerked his hand away instantly. Curious, Azathoth demanded an explanation for her appearance. In response, Ceres' grasp was tightened and squeezed by her angry grip. Suddenly, a brilliant light erupted from that spot, leaving Azathoth bewildered to find it was her very heart. Confused, she contemplated the peculiarity of a human heart residing within her. Ceres hastily shoved her back and demanded an explanation for this strange encounter. Then his system alerted him the human girl was indeed his blood of the demon god. Perplexed, Ceres pondered over how his antidote had morphed into a human form. Impulsively, he seized her hand and made a gash on her palm, intending to quench his thirst with her blood. Querying the odd ineffectiveness, he imbibed her blood, hoping it might be his salvation. Upon this action, Azathoth felt an unusual tremor and twitched. His system then indicated that the poison still lingered, with 101 days left on the clock. Grinning, Azathoth reasoned that since she had transformed into a human, her blood might be naturally ineffective. Just then, Sadiel intruded their space, kicking Ceres' hand and demanding he release Azathoth. Yet, Ceres deftly sidestepped the kick and retreated. Azathoth puzzled over how her essence had been absorbed by a human and stored within his unsanitary frame. Realizing she needed to reclaim that power, she decided to extract it forcefully from him. Upon doing so, his body would disintegrate into a sea of blood as retribution for misusing her powers. Ceres then speculated if other bodily fluids might possess the antidote's power. He made to advance towards Azathoth only to be taken aback as something erupted from the earth beneath them. Suddenly, a monster of boss-tier stature, Ghana, burst onto the scene, beaming and confiding to Azathoth that her presence from afar had stirred a whirlwind in her senses. Ghana boasted about her unbroken bond with Azathoth, symbolized by the bell she still wore as a testament of her eternal devotion. Demandingly, Ghana requested to consume Azathoth at once, vowing that afterward, Azathoth would be forever bound to her. Sadiel gaped in shock, while Azathoth tensed up. In a flash, Ceres scooped up Azathoth and dashed towards the wall's opening, leaping out of it. Puzzled, he pondered how a boss-level monster could unexpectedly materialize in the dungeon, so he felt it necessary to secure Azathoth's safety, first by taking her away. Ghana followed suit, jumping through the gap after Ceres, haranguing him to return Azathoth and stop running. Moments later, the scene transitioned to a brief interval at the Heroes Guild in Zone Z, where Ceres had taken refuge with Azathoth, elated that Ghana was no longer on his heels. Tense, Azathoth questioned her location. In the guild hall, Ceres sat beside her, breathing a sigh of relief at escaping Ghana's clutches. With her power restored, she could embark on a rampage, and they would all suffer the consequences. Hearing that it was the Heroes Guild, her favorite hangout spot, she beamed with delight, envisioning a smoother path for her vengeance. With a troubled expression, Azathoth stood tall, pressing Ceres' face gently. She confessed her plight, a dreadful curse from a fearsome monster. If she didn't find a mate swiftly, she would perish. Ceres, the honorable hero, acknowledged her predicament but vowed not to exploit her vulnerability. Still, Azathoth leaped over Ceres, her eyes welling with sorrow as she begged him for help. Compassionate by nature, Ceres felt it his duty to aid the suffering. His conscience whispered that he must never betray another's vulnerability like this. The revelation left him tense, contemplating how such a predicament could have crossed his path. Unable to stand idly by, Ceres reached for Azathoth, thinking he was ready to endure any pain for her salvation. Yet, as Azathoth came close, she plotted to drain his essence and regain her power, vowing to erase every trace of them all. Confused, Ceres pointed out the anomaly below, an unusual appendage that didn't seem to be a tail. Inquiring about its purpose, he questioned if it were some peculiar custom. Suddenly recalling tails being at the rear, Ceres realized her frontal tail was actually a male part. Taken aback, Ceres recoiled and pushed Azathoth away, startled by the revelation. Frightened, he stepped back, inadvertently causing his trusty companion Yug to tumble out of his pocket. Tense, Ceres inquired about Azathoth's sword-like object, puzzled. Azathoth moved near Ceres, whispering seductively that she held his promise of salvation. She touched his leg again, ready to seal it with a kiss, assuring him Ceres couldn't break her word. Daybreak was nearing, and Azathoth's dual personality was becoming evident. Suddenly, an unexpected event unfolded as Jug started transforming, leaving Ceres perplexed but oddly relieved. Confused, Azathoth inquired about Jug's transformation. Within seconds, Jug reverted to her monster form, grumbling about hunger. Hungry indeed. Jug pondered the tightness of Ceres' pocket, leaving Azathoth speechless. Once more, she sought Ceres' aid, addressing him as master. Seeing an opportunity, Ceres suggested assisting Jug first, then tending to Azathoth later. Amidst the chaos, Ceres dashed towards the kitchen, calling out that if Jug was hungry, he would prepare something for her to eat. Meanwhile, Ceres pondered his predicament. He needed to feed Jug, yet protecting Azathoth was crucial too. Somehow, he managed to find time for cooking, thinking it was a strange miracle. Lastly, Ceres questioned if mating with Azathoth was truly necessary. Ceres found himself in a conundrum, unable to settle his thoughts. Meanwhile, Azathoth edged closer, her intentions set for the morrow as she sought to restore her powers. Ceres feigned ignorance of Azathoth's presence. This action made clear that Ceres was hesitant about Azathoth's plans. Fearing coercion, she mused on alternative tactics to persuade the resistant Ceres. In a flash, Azathoth moved towards Ceres, intending to exert her influence. But Ceres, alert and swift, snatched the food off the plate and darted towards Yug outside. Angered by this move, Azathoth found herself powerless against Ceres' agility. Ceres declared he had finished cooking and needed to assist Yug immediately. Exiting the kitchen, Ceres noticed a tail peeking from the bathroom, prompting his curiosity. To his shock, he found Yug delightfully sipping toilet cleaner. Yug even sported a grin, insisting it was delicious. He pondered if she'd be all right after consuming such a substance. Back in the kitchen, Azathoth demanded Ceres had fed Yug already and now it was her turn to eat. She insisted on immediate action, growing impatient as Ceres tried to calm her down and voice his concerns. But Azathoth, now enraged, refused any excuses. Just then, Ceres' alert flashed, time for weapon return. Azathoth, still in a frenzy, tore Ceres' garments into shreds, leaving him dumbfounded and barely covered. Blushing, Azathoth edged towards Ceres. Meanwhile, Ceres' alert buzzed, mission time. Wave at 33 folks, street style. Enraged, he bellowed his refusal. Suddenly, a warning. Fail the mission and back to paradise in reverse he goes. A door materialized behind Ceres, slowly creaking open. Anxiously, Ceres peeked behind the door. To his shock, boy dummies beckoned him for a playdate. Ceres yelled it was scarier than stripping in public. Feeling exposed, he crumpled, tears streaming down, clutching the cloth that barely covered him. Frustrated and emotional, Ceres wept, wondering how such a tiny piece of fabric could shield him decently. Impulsively, he bolted towards the door, assigning Yug to watch Azathoth. Off for a brief stroll, he said. Yug asked Azathoth if she fancied some toilet cleaner, her new favorite, but she politely declined and felt a pang of sadness waiting for sunrise. Puzzled, Yug mused if that was how humans stepped out. Outside the room, Ceres shielded his face with his makeshift cloak, hoping it would hide him from curious eyes. Dashing towards the bustling barbecue plaza, Ceres anticipated a crowd, his heart pounding. But alas, trouble compounded as Ghana, the monster, detected him and joined the throng. Frustrated by his swift escape, Ghana zeroed in on Ceres, who signaled wildly to garner attention. The commotion attracted more onlookers, a girl's voice piercing the air, screams of pervert, echoing through the plaza. With mere seconds left on his mission's timer, Ceres found himself in hot pursuit by a mob, his nudity adding to his woes as he approached a more congested area. The narrative switched to Cirrus' abode, where Sadiel peered from the window. Azathoth shared her relief that dawn was near, urging them to flee swiftly. Tension gripped Yug as he spotted movement at the window. Upon recognizing Azathoth, Sadiel issued a warning: the city they found themselves in belonged to the Brave Heroes Guild. Capture could prove perilous. Azathoth commanded Sadiel to locate Ceres, instructing him to leave a trail of blood at sunrise for her to follow. Agreeing, Sadiel set off in search of Ceres, his mind racing with thoughts about the unknown consequences that awaited the essence-reclaimed human. If humans transformed into blood upon recovery. This contemplation made her uneasy. On the road, Ceres persistently waved at passers-by, astonishing the pursuers that he maintained such courtesies amidst pursuit. Suddenly, a commotion echoed, and from above she spotted Ceres running bare as some chased him. Completing 2 to 3 missions brought joy to him, knowing there were only a few left to greet. Out of nowhere, a colossal arachnid beast emerged, assaulting the pursuers of Ceres. Simultaneously, it was revealed that a lad named Sam had apprehended a menacing spider by pinning its leg, requesting aid for a weapon. The crowd, spotting the monster, urged evacuation and summoned reinforcements. Amidst the chaos, he stood amazed. Ceres heard the cacophony of destruction and glanced back to witness the scene. Confused, he resolved to confront and battle the beast. Meanwhile, Ceres pondered over the sudden appearance of a monster at such a crucial moment. Ceres appealed to his system for assistance, but it replied that during the weapon return mission he couldn't utilize the system as everything returned to initial rank F. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Ceres questioned the unfolding events. In the city, an alert was issued urging everyone to vacate due to a monster sighting. To his astonishment, Ceres approached and shook hands with Sam, praising him. Fuming, Sam inquired if Ceres had lost his mind for greeting during combat, and whether the monster had stripped him of his pants. Due to Ceres's predicament, Sam lost his grasp, and the piercing spider prepared to attack him once more. Just in the nick of time, an A-rank hero named Kajak dashed in and vanquished the spider menace, safeguarding Sam. Kajak turned to Sam, querying if battling such minor arachnids was too much for a C-rank hero. Accompanying him was Charlton, the Heroes Guild's vice president, who had also shown up. However, Kajak reassured Charlton not to fret, asserting that with their security detail, no monster would dare harm or approach him. He emphasized the urgency of escorting Kajak back promptly. Charlton commended Kajak, acknowledging his valor on the battlefield. Suddenly, Ghana materialized, sensing Ceres' presence. Upon catching sight of her, a wave of tension washed over everyone, and Kajak instantly ordered everyone to prioritize Mr. Charlton's protection. Kajak lunged at Ghana with his sword, but she deftly evaded the strike, then playfully touched his hand, teasing if that was the extent of his intentions towards her. Instantly, Kajak's hand started melting, and his body began to burn slowly. Another hero barked orders for everyone to evacuate Mr. Charlton while he tried to contain Ghana. Ghana chuckled at humans, finding them weak for succumbing to even a small dose of poison. Kajak howled in agony, realizing the toxic effects and urging everyone to keep their distance from Ghana. Ghana grinned and asked if he wished to embrace her, hinting that they had severely underestimated her power. Meanwhile, Ceres was on the cusp of completing his mission when another hero was burned by Ghana, halting his progress. With the hero's final, silent scream fading, Ghana mused she craved more melodrama. Savoring the poison's agony, she whispered it was a symphony to her ears. Toward Charlton's frantic calls for aid, Ghana casually sauntered closer. Ceres stormed in, commanding Ghana to vacate Charlton's vicinity. Ceres' gaze pierced through Charlton, who miraculously regained his attire, marking his mission's completion. Ceres requested the system to present a card revealing an arsenal of potential power. This weapon's secret ability hinted at combat transformative and strategic prowess. Upon foes' distress cries, the silent force awakened within. Choosing a card, Ceres was granted the Silent Divine Finger, a tool with unique capabilities, enabling him to metamorphose nearby objects into adversaries' forms, feeling their sensations at will. Ghana charged, demanding Azathoth's whereabouts. Upon recognizing Ceres, Ghana gleamed with joy, spotting her long-awaited ally. Ceres offered to surrender Azathoth, yet warned he'd eliminate Ceres first before seeking the Demon Lord. Locked onto Ceres, Ghana lunged at him, only to dodge and retreat when Ceres elusively moved away, leaving a lingering imprint on the earth. The blow inflicted agony on Ghana, momentarily stunning her. A peculiar sensation engulfed her as soon as Ceres touched the ground, making her shiver in anticipation. The peculiar sensation left Ghana flustered, questioning its source. In response to the touch, she let out a shriek, pushing her scream value to 12%. Interpreting it as an unseen force, Ghana questioned if Ceres had inadvertently touched her chest area. It was undoubtedly Cirrus's ability, causing a momentary discomfort, confirming her suspicions about his prowess. Declaring loyalty to Lord Azathoth, Ghana threatened anyone who dared to touch her besides him with death and vowed never to betray again by making such sounds. Gathering her toxins, Ghana warned Cirrus that his charred remains would be an offering to Lord Azathoth as an apology for the transgression. Tensed, Cirrus braced himself as Ghana declared his impending agonizing demise for violating her personal space. Despite dodging her initial attack, Ghana persisted in her pursuit, aiming to grab him from the ground. Touching the ground, Cirrus triggered another sensation that echoed through Ghana's armpit, pushing her scream value to 43%. Overwhelmed by the intensity, Ghana was struck by a powerful force and endured considerable distress. Mirroring his action, Cirrus pondered if the sensation felt similar to brushing against her armpit. Meanwhile, Ghana grimaced in pain, noting that this one stung several times more than the previous one. Puzzled, Ghana inquired why she found herself making another noise, despite her determination to remain silent. Yet again, it was her armpit that tingled, a sensation reminiscent of Azathoth's touch. This fleeting joy reminded her that even mere mortals like Cirrus could mimic the divine. Ghana recoiled at this thought, finding it distasteful to compare humans to the exalted Azathoth. She pondered how Cirrus dared to harbor such similar thoughts. With the bell Azathoth had bestowed upon her, she lamented her predicament, questioning the strange turn of events. Hiding herself, Ghana collected her thoughts and smiled, hoping Azathoth would forgive her this transgression. Cirrus looked on in astonishment as Ghana appeared to be self-harming, suspecting she might be dealing with some mental turmoil. Addressing Cirrus, Ghana remarked that his fighting style was unusual and now she would show him her full potential. Withdrawing a sword from an enigmatic location, Ghana prepared to strike. Cirrus mused, wondering if the secret hideaway of this weapon was just as peculiar. Reading the situation, Cirrus deduced that, given their previous encounters, her next move would likely target his back, based on the distance ratio. For some reason, Cirrus suddenly fled, prompting Ghana to pursue him, yelling about his sudden escape when it was already too late. Leaping towards Cirrus, Ghana aimed to attack, but he deftly dodged her strike. Cirrus exclaimed that his agility outmatched hers and vowed to never let his guard down. Acknowledging his peculiar talent, Ghana spun a silken trap for Cirrus. Trapped in the web, Cirrus squirmed and strained to break free. Ghana declared it was game over for him, ready to deliver the final blow. Just as she lunged, Cirrus deftly freed his entangled hand and found solid ground beneath it. He pondered if he was on the right track, noticing a sensation that reminded him of her familiar terrain. The enigmatic skill of Cirrus once again left Ghana intrigued and tense. This time, she clamped a hand over her mouth, vowing to keep her composure. Cirrus tried to tickle the last remnants of her laughter out, but Ghana held strong against any outbreak. Only 1% of a scream managed to slip out, showcasing minimal force. Relieved and delighted, Ghana understood that she had maintained control, realizing as long as she didn't let loose, she would remain invulnerable to further onslaughts. Eyes wide, Ghana spotted Cirrus free from the web, vanishing mysteriously. In a surprising turn, Cirrus voiced from the shadows that he hadn't planned to vanish. A subtle grin graced Ghana's face, labeling Cirrus' actions as a tad hasty. She popped something in her mouth, sharing her newfound knowledge of his moves and how this moment was his last chance to flee. Sealing her lips with a silken weave, she aimed to silence her screams, leaving Cirrus' attacks powerless against her. Determined to conquer solo, she withdrew her hand, revealing a spiderweb mask over her lips. Cirrus inquired if the spot he sensed was indeed on Ghana's inner thigh, correct? Upon hearing this, Ghana flushed red with embarrassment and irritation, finding Cirrus' preoccupation with her physique rather distasteful. Reading her silence like a book, Cirrus enlightened her that he had tailored their surroundings based on her body measurements. He then proclaimed the impending battle where one party would overpower the other, ready to launch a full-scale attack on her form to uncover sensitive spots or pressure points capable of pushing her to the brink. Ghana reasoned that she had foreseen his move, so regardless of where he struck, she'd remain silent. Cirrus rubbed his hands together, eager anticipation building in the air. Ghana stoically bore it out, managing to remain silent. Cirrus was taken aback by her lack of response, yet Ghana's tension intensified as she felt an unfamiliar warmth from his touch, a sensation seemingly profound, yet she resisted. Still, Ghana remained loyal to Azathoth, keeping her feelings intact. Yet, the pleasure he offered fell short of Azathoth's grandeur. Cirrus eagerly awaited Ghana's response, urging her to indulge. Ghana found herself bewildered, questioning why this feeling suddenly invaded her thoughts. Meanwhile, Charlton observed and marveled as the monster wiggled once more, an astonishing sight. Determined to halt the chaos, Ghana steeled herself, while Charlton pondered the secret behind these moaning sounds and yearned to master it himself. On the contrary, Ghana puzzled over how Cirrus managed to stir such deep emotions within her heart. Intense pleasure washed over her, a sensation she had never experienced before. Intriguingly, the images of Lord Azathoth began to fade from her mind's eye. Time for a change of mind, Ghana realized, as loyalty to Lord Azathoth demanded composure. Ceres was taken aback by Ghana's silence, the thrill not yet reaching its peak. Determined to end this, Ghana channeled her venom, making her weapon dance with malice. Smiling, Ceres leaned against the wall, baiting Ghana with a gleam in his eye. Ghana quivered once more, wrestling with the overpowering sensation pinned to the ground by it. The clock was ticking, she had to act fast. For if Lord Azathoth slipped away, her heart would follow suit. Steeling herself, Ghana hurled her sword at Ceres, aiming for the kill. But Ceres, ever elusive, dodged the blow. Anticipating this very move, Ghana unleashed the toxins as her weapon neared its target. She assumed the tight quarters would hinder Ceres from dodging the toxin. Now her toxins had surely engulfed Ceres, signaling his imminent demise. And when the toxins dissipated, Ghana realized that, in such close proximity, Ceres wouldn't have had time to evade. To her surprise, Ceres' voice echoed, warning that he'd learned from the web trick she used before and wouldn't be fooled again. Gazing up, Ghana marveled at Ceres' agility. Even in a precarious predicament, he had scaled the rooftop. Ceres hollered, promising it was his turn now. He leaped from the rooftop into the constricted space, scraping the walls with his hands as he descended. As Ceres approached, Ghana felt a more potent sensation, growing stronger by the second. Struggling to endure, she hoped that sensation would dissipate soon, but due to the roof's towering walls, it lingered longer than anticipated. Tensing up, Ghana pondered why the sensation hadn't ceased as swiftly as before. Growing anxious, she wished for an end to the sensation. As her resilience neared its limit, she apologized to Lord Azathoth before surrendering to the overwhelming force. She roared with all her might, and this time Ceres' system indicated a maximum scream value of 100%. The locket, a gift from Lord Azathoth, shattered violently, releasing an immense force around Ghana. The blast gradually drained Ghana's magical energy until her magic value hit zero. Transforming into a tiny arachnid, Ghana's weapon was automatically returned by Ceres' system, signifying the enemy's defeat. Cradling Ghana in his hand, Ceres strode forward. His system gleamed 100% favorability from her. A passive conquest had been unlocked, hinting at a future skill acquisition upon boss vanquishing. Contemplating the use of poison on weapons, Ceres speculated about the possibility of infusing toxins from his own being. Consequently, he obtained the toxic fusion skill. The narrative transitioned to Sadiel's scene where she shed her blood to conjure Azathoth. The instant her life essence touched the ground, Azathoth vanished from sight, leaving Yuga in awe and bewildered. Upon materialization, Azathoth manifested in human form. From here on, we shall refer to him as a man. With a hint of concern, Azathoth queried Sadiel about Ceres' whereabouts. She sheepishly admitted her loss of track, apologetically explaining the circumstances. Regrettably, Sadiel admitted she'd lost track of Ceres. This revelation left Azathoth momentarily speechless, revealing his concern for the heart that once pulsed within him. If not retrieved, he'd revert to a powerless human form at night. Sensing the city's energy, Azathoth bolted towards it, realizing it was the system's powerful echo. With no second thought, he soared into the sky. Back with Ceres, her system updated a new skill placement, enabling teleportation of conquered monsters to their original domains. Invoking placement, Ghana vanished from her grasp and reappeared in Yuga's chamber. Startled, Yuga yelped as a spider struck her head, exhibiting a look of surprise. Meanwhile, Azathoth snatched Ceres before he could react, ensnaring him with a magical grip around the neck. Disappointment etched across Azathoth's face as he chastised Ceres for his betrayal, fleeing halfway through their promised rescue mission. In that moment, Ceres came to understand that Azathoth was indeed a man and the trickster who had misled him about the curse. Urging Ceres for resolution, Azathoth demanded she honor their unfulfilled pledge. Agreeing, Ceres inquired about his new desire. With a shift in form, Azathoth inquired if now Ceres might find interest. Ceres stiffened, taken aback by the transformation into a character donning a cat-themed attire. Refusing and shocked, Ceres turned away, confronting a feline figure resembling Azathoth. Vehemently rejecting, Ceres declared that regardless of form, he held no affection for such affinity. Attempting to strike, Ceres' punch was blocked by Azathoth, who subtly twisted his wrist, eliciting pain. Azathoth persisted, commenting on human fascination with cat ears and stockings, implying potential amusement. Yet, the rejection weighed heavily upon him. Hinting at more extreme actions, he seemed resolved. Stunned, Ceres watched as Azathoth licked his finger playfully. Tense, Ceres demanded to know if Azathoth was serious, warning him not to repeat such an action. Delighted by the taste, Azathoth expressed his joy at the finger-licking encounter. Escape seemed impossible as Azathoth halted Ceres with his power. Refusing to target men due to moral boundaries, Ceres expressed reluctance. Azathoth proposed a challenge. Could he lock him down and increase his speed? Exceeding the system's level, Azathoth soared into the sky, suggesting that no matter how much Ceres tried to flee, it would lead to the same outcome. Azathoth, with a suggestive tone, told Ceres that if he complied and followed his lead, he'd cure him. Lifting Ceres high, Azathoth leapt over him, implying Ceres had always craved him through the veins coursing within. Fuming, Ceres retorted to Azathoth that if obtaining demon god blood for the antidote meant such acts, he'd rather disintegrate than comply. With a menacing growl, Azathoth threatened to force himself upon Ceres, boasting that Ceres would beg for it. Irked by resistance, Azathoth prepared to attack, proclaiming Ceres needed discipline for his defiance. Azathoth then touched Ceres's back, aiming to restore his power, system, and heart to their original master. The system cautioned that engaging Ceres as a target would trigger Azathoth's Spear of Oblivion. Ceres's system refused to comply, nullifying all of Azathoth's attacks against him. Confused, Azathoth pondered why his magic had backfired. In response, Ceres' system proposed a gamble: sacrifice half your life for a chance to vanquish Azathoth. Incensed, Ceres questioned the system's intelligence, stating the answer was obvious. Should Ceres prevail, Azathoth would be fully consumed, cleansing him of poison. With only 50 days remaining, Ceres' life countdown flashed ominously. Stunned, Azathoth marveled at the system's defiance, an action unimaginable to him. Ceres realized that if he kept Azathoth within a 10-meter radius, he could lock onto him. Before Ceres could strike, however, Azathoth harnessed his power, enshrouding Ceres in red smoke. Ceres, perplexed by the crimson fog, pondered if the smoggy shroud was a trick of Azathoth's making. The denseness of the smoke blinded Ceres, leaving him squinting against the thick veil. In that instant, Azathoth slashed his palm, inadvertently causing an identical wound on Sadiel. A wave of tension washed over her as she pondered the mysteries unfolding. Baffled by Azathoth's distressed state, Sadiel questioned the turn of events. Furious at being betrayed, Azathoth zipped across the cityscape in a heartbeat, arriving safe but shaken. Astounded, Ceres wondered how Azathoth could move so swiftly. Meanwhile, Ceres was equally amazed to see that the system had Azathoth on lockdown. Before addressing Ceres' predicament, Sadiel inquired about his well-being. Growing tense at the sight of Azathoth's sweaty brow, Azathoth revealed he was unharmed since no one else in the city could harm him and their linked bodies were in sync. Displeased with Ceres, Sadiel suggested they retreat to the dungeon if Azathoth couldn't handle the foe. Azathoth countered, questioning her delight at Ceres' continued existence. Surprised, she pressed for clarification, to which Azathoth denied his claim, adding that Ceres had become immune to his attacks. Azathoth proposed they prolong their bond until his demise, as he was the system's only suitable host. He declared with confidence that he could still offer pleasure despite being powerless against Ceres. Delighted, Azathoth expressed his eagerness to continue their game. Lastly, Azathoth tasked Sadiel with seeking out Ceres under the cloak of night once more. Sadiel affirms her ability, prompting Azathoth's request for transformation. Revealing his nocturnal magic woes, Azathoth leans on Sadiel for support during transformations. Assuring her it's a heroic role reversal, Azathoth requests Ceres to save him next. Transformed, Azathoth adopts a female character once more, delighting in the disguise that'll confuse Ceres. This transformation hints at a past where a female companion might have claimed Azathoth's life. Confused, Sadiel queries if this is how Azathoth met his end. Azathoth suggests a strategic gambit to ensnare Ceres. Tormented by abandonment, Azathoth erupts in rage, querying the system's rejection. Intriguingly, Ceres finds solace in Ceres' impending demise, struggling to comprehend her allure. Meanwhile, Ceres ponders her dwindling days left. Aware of the ticking clock, Ceres hastens his quest. Suddenly, his heart spasms uncontrollably, and Ceres recognizes the poison stirring again. The poison this time targets his little toe, causing searing pain. Collapsing onto the floor in agony, Ceres succumbs to unconsciousness. Onlooker Charlton rushes to Ceres, bewildered by the unfolding tragedy. The scene later transitions to Ceres waking up in a hospital. Optional joke: wondering who'd play the hero next, the audience eagerly waits for the next chapter. Upon seeing Ceres stir, the ward staffer couldn't contain his excitement, and summoned a colleague to alert Mr. Charlton. Inquiring about his arrival, Ceres learned it was none other than Mr. Charlton, the guild's vice president, who had brought him here. Hearing this, Ceres showed a hint of surprise. Just then, Charlton stepped into the room, reminding Sirius of their past encounter, that fateful day with the spider-surrounded man. Recognizing the memory, Sirius appeared startled and questioned if it had been that long, given his body's drained state from constant battles. Charlton confirmed he had been unconscious for 13 hours. Sirius acknowledged with a nod. Charlton shared how impressed he was by Sirius' exceptional magic during the battle against the spider monster and expressed a sincere desire to learn Sirius' abilities should they aid in his escape from past struggles. Seeing this, Sirius queried if there was something specific Charlton needed. Apologizing for his presumptuousness, Charlton explained that as age advances, certain abilities tend to fade and one loses interest in certain things. However, the meaning still eluded Sirius. With a humble request, Charlton asked Sirius to teach him the magic and accept him as his disciple. Sirius was taken aback to learn that the guild's vice president sought to be his pupil. Yet, he soon realized that it wasn't a skill to be taught but a system ability. Pondering over this, Sirius pondered if accepting Charlton as his disciple could offer an opportunity to utilize the Heroes Guild resources to locate Azathoth. Here's a bit of fun. Who would have thought that the Adventurers Guild's VP had hidden ninja skills? Yet, mastery requires personal dedication. Sirius inquired if Charlton was prepared for the challenge, acknowledging that his magic was not easily mastered. Charlton affirmed, citing an old adage about the teacher showing the path. He vowed to put forth his utmost effort, even sacrificing life itself should it prove necessary. Sirius advised Charlton to begin from the basics, starting with the fingertips. In a sudden display of reverence, Charlton knelt before Sirius, petitioning him for discipleship. Understanding the gravity of his position, he requested secrecy regarding their arrangement, as he still held a rank within the Adventurers Guild. Just as the conversation reached a turning point, Charlton's secretary, Daisy, barged in with news. She presented a warrant proclaiming Sirius guilty of desertion and sentenced to death. Charlton faced Sirius, expressing concern over the gravity of the situation but promising to help however he could given their newfound relationship. Sirius inquired, puzzled by Charlton's sudden seriousness. Sirius clarified that he hadn't fled, instead staying behind to battle the dungeon boss. Nay, Daisy countered, revealing information about the squad's retreat and highlighting that even an F-rank like Sirius had slain an S-rank monster alongside C-rank Bella and B-rank Mark. However, she warned that detaining Sirius was necessary to prevent any potential escape attempts. Daisy added that the dungeon was currently empty as someone had already been sent to verify their incredible feat. Sirius requested Daisy to send someone to confirm his account. Daisy relayed to Charlton that an evening guild banquet awaited him, prompting Charlton's suggestion to manage Sirius during the investigation instead. Daisy gently reminded Charlton of the rules, but Charlton persisted, trusting Sirius' words and offering a compromise. He'd leave Sirius B for the day and pick him up later for the banquet. Daisy, still advocating caution, reiterated the banquet's significance. Pondering momentarily, Charlton conceded, allowing Sirius a reprieve from scrutiny until their nighttime rendezvous. In agreement, Sirius nodded. Upon booting up his system panel, Sirius was taken aback to find Azathoth still within the city. Readying himself, Sirius planned to seek out Azathoth on his journey. As they departed, a wave of relief washed over Sirius. Intrigued, he decided to check Azathoth's current location. Closer examination revealed that Azathoth was eerily close. Pausing to reflect, Sirius was startled to uncover that Azathoth was none other than a resident of his very own home. Heart racing, Sirius dashed back home, finding it vacant upon entry. Proceeding further, Ghana remained within sight. However, Yug was conspicuously absent from the premises. This led Sirius to conclude that Yug had likely fallen victim to Azathoth's capture. Scene transitioned to Azathoth and Yug as Yug, perplexed, questioned her whereabouts. Azathoth, grinning, revealed they were at an auction for monsters and humans. Sirius, on the run to Azathoth's location, noticed a prolonged stasis, hinting he was near. Alas, the marker vanishing signified nightfall, leaving Sirius unable to trace Azathoth. Advancing, Sirius found an ambush, effortlessly dodging the attack, pondering the new threat. Upon hearing Star Cavalry, Sirius mused on rumors of kidnappers, the assailant named Raka explaining it was their territory. He warned Sirius of harsh retaliation against intruders, suspecting them as bait for hidden heroes or monsters. Raka added a grim reminder about other heroes potentially nearby. They readied for combat, mentioning the prisoners were lures to draw them out. His system buzzed, announcing the weapon return mission was imminent in 2 minutes. He considered this an opportune moment to inquire about a peculiar male monster sighted around. They confessed to capturing Sirius for interrogation, suspecting Yug might be the female monsters they mentioned. With time running out, he decided to swiftly resolve the situation within the remaining minutes. Sirius tensed, anticipating a revert to his initial F-rank stats upon entering the mission. Simultaneously, Yug struggled against handcuffs impotent due to restraining magic as her system alerted she required male nourishment to stay strong. Scene changed to Yug wrestling with her cuffs helpless under the enchantment.